books on these topics. Most people, you know, Jackie French's books, there's floods, cyclone, drought, fire, okay? There's so many books on the market in the last 10 years, but probably more so in the last 5 years, around fire, drought, cyclones, etc. Mallee Sky is another one. Okay, that's more around drought. Through the Smoke by Phil Cummings is on fire. And I'm not going to go through them, but I've got a pile of them there. Okay, and I also have a list. I'll tell you where to find that at the end. There's a stack of text. So if you're looking for, I'm going to say model text, that's it. It's about me sitting on the floor looking at all those texts, whether it's on natural disasters or whatever else, reading them, getting to know them, excuse me, and actually going, what might I do with these? What am I seeing across them? Because I think culturally, as a group, they actually tell a story. And they're actually now telling a slightly different story. So, first question is, what will the audience be expecting or wanting? I mean, what does an audience, if you're going to read about a disaster, whatever type it might be, what are you wanting? Like with most stories, don't you want a happy ending? Yeah, particularly in 2020 with disasters. I think we're crying out for that. So you're kind of wanting that. However, to get to the happy ending, you've got to go through turmoil, really, okay? And you've got to be powerless at times, and then humans like to be able to regain power, okay? Especially American presidents, don't they? It's not quite what I was talking about, but we like to seize the power back, okay? And I think that's part of the issue with why we're so stressed this year. We can't quite seize the power back. So questions like that, what's the purpose? I mean, if you say, what's the purpose? Kids will say, to entertain, you know, it's a story. Well, yeah, but it's more than that. It's actually giving us an insight into our culture, even our weather patterns, our change in weather patterns, how people react, how we react when we're powerless, how we react when we regain power. It's much bigger than that, okay? So with these books, what I'm going to do is go down to a really little couple of snippets to work with, but I want to stress, I'd be actually sharing all these books with the students so that we're getting a full range of how this subject matter, if you like, is represented, okay? And it's represented differently, but it's amazing how many commonalities there are when you read about disasters within Australian culture, and I would say, you know, worldwide. So if we're looking at books, we might predict, what's the subject matter? Well, this one's interesting. It's got a dog on the front cover, okay? Jackie French likes to pop animals as little onlookers into her text, but you can see with the Bruce Watley's illustration, we've got the effect of the running water, the flood, etc. But talking about, you know, what's the field, which might look a little bit different to say this one. This one I don't have any living participants. This one I've got a dog. This one, I've got 3 human participants. And I know it's very hard to see. If you're up the back, you probably can't see them at all. And that's probably significant too. So where do the humans feature in these stories? First question is, are they on the cover or not? Are there going to be humans in them at all? Okay, we're talking about these natural disasters. Something like this one, which I love, no human participants at all on the front cover. And I'll let you know there's no human participants anywhere in it. But there's a lot of natural phenomenon acting like humans, okay? So, first questions, what's the field? Who's involved? What's involved? And we could actually record that, couldn't we? So what would I say? What did I say before? A dog. 3 young children and a dog, okay? Bellowing grey smoke, swaying trees. So even from the point of prediction, I'm actually doing grammar, okay? I might record this. They're the noun groups. Maybe they'll be in our text. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be there as participants but be named in a different way. I can also say, what's going on? What's happening? Much happening in this one? We've got it's very hot. You can tell from the colours. So maybe, I don't know, even though I can't see it, maybe the sun is burning, scalding the earth. Okay? So burning, scalding, beating down. Okay? In this one, the children are standing. I can also think about the circumstances in terms of maybe where, when, even how. I think our knowledge of what time looks like in a bushfire is a bit different since last year. You know, those pitch black images which were in the middle of the day. Yeah, so, you know, in the morning, late in the afternoon, you could even go in summer, in spring, in winter. Don't bushfires happen in winter now? It's not just in, you know, December, January. We could also talk about where in the desert, in the outback. So I'm already eliciting through predicting those grammatical features, and we can confirm our predictions after we've read, and we might do that with several of the texts. But I'm orientating students to where we're going because we're actually starting to think about the idea of developing a shared meta language, and that might be who or what, or we could use the functional terms like participant, or we could say process or action, or verb group, or I could say adverbials or circumstances or time, place, manner. The language I choose, I'd actually choose based on my students. But what I want to make sure is I talk about what it's doing and contextualise it. Okay, so the classroom's a place of reflection and critical analysis of language choices. And I think the key word there's choices. Okay, we don't want you to say, go and write exactly like Jackie French. I'm going to give them a few choices, okay, different choices, so they can actually build their own repertoire. So I've taken little snippets from each of these three books. I could have chosen other ones, but I've chosen parts in the book, particularly where the participants occur. And you know what's typical? You tend not to get human participants in these books until at least 2/3 of the way through. So it's all about what nature or the environment or the phenomenon does, and then you get, you know, the firefighter turn up, okay, or the people with the sandbags or whatever it might be. So you can actually see who's involved actually structures the text, and it's pretty typical across these texts. So this is from Mallee Sky, and you can tell I've colour-coded the noun groups, verb groups, adverbials, and I'm saying group because I'm thinking at the level of the clause and the groups within the clause, because that's where meaning is really happening. I've colour-coded it. I would do that as a teacher. Sometimes I may not if my students are quite confident in talking about what's going on at the clause level. I would never say, okay, kids, let's colour-code it together. Okay, so, you know, Alison, can you tell me which is the first verb group? Okay, and we do that. Life's too short. It's not a grammar test. We're using it as a tool for making choices. So I've just highlighted what this particular author has done. So heat shimmers and bitumen melts. The red dirt cracks. The scrub sighs, still and thirsty. The wind is too hot and tired to raise more than a whisper through the eucalypts. Who are our participants? The heat. I can kind of see heat on this cover, actually. Now I think about it, it's a bit more abstract, isn't it? The bitumen, so the road. The red dirt, so I'm getting this sense quite dry. The scrub, even scrub sounds dry, doesn't it? To me that sounds drier than, say, the bush. The wind, so we've got something there as well. And then we get a little bit more detail about that as well. But just even those choices, heat, bitumen, red dirt, the scrub, they're our participants. They're not living, well, they are living, but they're not human. Okay, you can argue about whether they're living. You could say the scrub is living, couldn't you? But they're not human. And what are they doing? Shimmering, Can anyone show me what heat? Be heat. It's a challenge. And shimmer. Yeah, okay. Can you be bitumen and melt? Okay. Can you be the red dirt that cracks? I can almost hear you cracking, actually. And the scrub that sighs. Still and thirsty. Sigh again. You can argue about whether that's adverbial or not. I've had many discussions about that. So the scrub sighs, still and thirsty. Can you do it again? Yeah, so that's how you're sighing. Now the wind is too hot and tired to raise more than a whisper through the eucalypts. So can you be the wind? What are you doing? The wind is too hot and tired to raise more than a whisper through the eucalypts. Does that mean it's windy or not? No. So again, the choice could have been, it's not very windy. You know, it's really, really hot and dry and it's not very windy. That's basically what that's saying, okay? But we've got non-human participants. They're almost like the parts of the whole, okay? If you look at some of the images, parts of the whole. And we're looking at what they're doing. They're actors, aren't they? Okay? They're doing things. And it's all because of the drought.